To be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation Show. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisfitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to our Sunday after dinner show. I took a nice day today to do some hiking, some mud therapy out at Land Between the Lakes. and then of course catch up on the race with Lacey telling me what was going on with the race, because it was kind of confusing on the app. But he did keep me up to speed, and I got everything I needed to know that Kyle Larson won today, thanks to I guess multiple wrecks during the overtime period in Indianapolis. So as we start our show, as we usually do now, we go to the Officer Down Memorial page, and there's 3 names on there that we haven't talked about prior. We got Corporal Robert William Sumner, Oklahoma Department of Corrections. His end of watch was July 14th, 2024. Probationary police officer Edgar Ordonez from New York City Police Department. His end of watch is July 10th, 2024. Being probationary, I'm guessing he's less than a year in. That's a hard one right there to take. Police officer Muhammad Saeed, Mel Vindale, Police Department, Michigan. End of watch today, July 21st, 2024. Keep them young men and their families and their friends who serve with them in your thoughts and prayers as they go through a tumultuous time. Also, keep in your hearts and prayers the family of Tennessee Highway Patrolman Adam Corthron, who was shot the other night by a suspect who was caught right outside of Lacey's town there in Princeton, Kentucky, just last night. There's still at least one suspect at large, but this man is the shooter, and he's off the streets now. So keep Adam Corthron's family in your thoughts and prayers as he's fighting to come back to us. He's in critical condition, but he is stable at this time. Tonight we have a good guest. He served in the early 90s in the United States Army. Since then, he has gone through the journey most veterans go through, the ups and downs of life, everything that goes on. He found Warrior Rounds. They helped him to tell his story through music. And now he's going to host the Traveling Vietnam Wall Memorial as it comes to his town in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. So without further ado, let's welcome James Thornton, U.S. Army veteran, to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, James.
Hey, how are you, Rich?
Doing great, brother. It's great to have you here. I know we met a long time ago on Willis's show, I believe, or
Yes,
on the
sir.
Tip of the Spear, probably.
Yep.
So it's been a long time coming to get you on here. So great to have you here. And I can't wait to hear your story. I've heard your story before on Willis's show, and I want my audience to hear your story from your point of view, not my point of view. So if you don't mind, tell us the why behind you joining the greatest armed force in the world, in the United States Army, for one. You got to go to 10th Mountain Division. I won't hold that against you, but you did do great things for our country. Tell us the why behind coming in, and then the roller coaster you did on the way out.
Well, it was simple as far as joining. My life was going nowhere. I really had nothing gainful around me. So I figured the best thing to do was join the service. So I talked to my little brother, and we both signed up at the same time. I chose infantry. He chose, he was a Lance missile crew member. And what the hell, let's do it. I had a pregnant girlfriend, so I had a daughter on the way. So I had to do something so that my new family would be taken care of. So I joined the Army. And then after my basic and AIT down at Fort Benning, I got sent to Fort Drum, New York. Watertown, New York.
That's a lot of hurt right there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the best part about basic training is we were in a cohort unit. So all of the guys, we started out on day one together. We graduated, went to Fort Drum. We were all in the same unit. We all spent the next 3 years together. So I have a lot of very, very close brothers. And, 30 some odd years, 31 years later, we're still just as close as we were then. We had a big get together last year down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. A lot of the guys from Black Hawk down. And after the hugs and the crying, it was like, dude, I haven't seen you since yesterday. 30 years, just it didn't matter anymore. So that's what got me in the service. So, and then it was an eye-opening experience. I think our first year in Fort Drum, I think we spent maybe 3 months at Fort Drum. The rest of it was gone. We were just constantly training, constantly everywhere. You name it, we were gone. So, and then, of course, the night that we got notified we were going to Somalia, that was an eye opener right there. So, yeah, I joined in '91 and got out in '95. all that good stuff.
And that was, I mean, it's tumultuous time for our Army, our military at that time, 91 when you joined, because right then is when the end of 1991 is when the Desert Shield, Desert Storm started.
That's
So
correct.
you came in right at the tail end of that. I'm guessing you went to basic
That's right.
training AIT at that point. So I bet all your drill sergeants like, oh, this is what's going to happen. You need to go fight these guys in the desert, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're going to do, especially being infantry. You got to go with world events and strike that fear into your head and get that going down there at Fort Benning on Sand Hill and such. And you rocked out through that. Then you wound up in the place that they call the North Country up in Fort Drum. And you got to love God when you go up there, because if you don't, then bad things happen to you at Fort Drum. Mosquitoes are bigger than your head. It's cold crap during the winter, but you persevered and you guys got sent. You guys went to Somalia, I believe, before the Rangers were there. You guys were there already, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We were there. I want to say just before August. There was 4 MPs that were killed in a remote detonated bomb. And
Raleigh, Kansas, yes.
Yeah, our unit was the first ones. That was our first mission, and we hadn't been there very long at all when that took place. So, you know, everybody knows about the Operation Gothic Serpent Black Hawk Down. That was our 3rd firefight. We'd already been in 2 other ones. I mean, stuff was heating up more and more as we wound up closer to the 3rd and 4th. I mean, we had one firefight on September 13th of 93. We literally had to fight our way out of it. We went in to do a cordon and search, and it just turned bad quick. So we fought that one. And then September 25th, the Somalis actually shot down the first Black Hawk helicopter. And the stories that we were told is that a couple young Somali children took the 2 pilots who were alive. The crew all perished in it, but the pilots survived. They took them into a building and dressed them as women. And they actually walked them a couple blocks away to turn them in at the Pakistani stadium, so they would be okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the 3rd and 4th hit, and that was just, you know, we were doing PT, and you can hear the guns. You can hear all the stuff going off. We're like, what the hell? Because we were the quick reaction force. We're not supposed to go in that city if we didn't know about it. We at least on standby. We didn't know nothing about it. So now we were at the bottom of the university. And, you know, we had radios, and it come across that, you know, we're on alert status now. So it was a free-for-all run back to the barracks, get dressed, get into 5 tons and a deuce and a halves, and get ready to go to battle, because we didn't have any armor. So we rode out there on deuce and a halves and 5 tons, and it was an ambush, is what it was. And a lot of our guys got shot up there, and we come back. And then it was a political fiasco for us to get in the Tunisian APCs that were part of the UN.
Yep.
And so we had 2 Paki tanks and the Tunisian APCs. And I'm going to tell you right now, that was the worst 2 hours of my life. Because as a light infantry soldier, you're not trained inside them damn sardine boxes.
Yeah.
You know, we had bullets hitting the boxes, and, you know, RPG land outside, and it rocked a little bit. You know, most of the guys we all agree, when they opened the doors, when we got to where we were going and we got to get out of that APC, it was just a big breath of fresh air. Now we get to do what we're trained to do, you know, damn right in that sardine box. So we spent several hours. I think one report was 17 hours in that firefight inside the city, getting the Rangers and the Delta forces that were pinned down out. And I think we lost 18 soldiers that night altogether, and there were 73 wounded. And the Tunisians lost 1, had a couple wounded, and the Pakis had a couple wounded. And reports vary with the Somalis, because a lot of them, if you died, they buried you right now.
Yep.
So the Red Cross and UN really didn't have an accurate count, but we have heard up to 700 were killed that night. So
yeah, I think the official report is 800 to 1,000 or 1,200, something like that.
Yeah.
It was also, you guys lost a couple dudes on the initial attempt to go back in, right before you got on the convoy with the Tunisians.
The Rangers Yeah, the Rangers and Delta Force, we didn't lose anybody till after we got out there in the APCs.
Okay. I
We
thought you guys
lost,
had a separate
yeah,
convoy that got out and got hit.
yeah, we lost a young man. As soon as he stepped out of the APC, we lost him.
Okay.
And then we had a sergeant that was part of the engineer, and he was attached to one of the platoons from Alpha Company, and he got shot, and then of course he succumbed to his injuries a while later. But yeah, we lost one as soon as he come out of the APC.
Were you guys involved with in June of '93? The Pakistanis got hit really bad. Were you guys involved with getting them out?
No, I don't think we got there until July.
Okay. I know that was the start of that buildup when
right, absolutely.
When they got hit. That caused the knee jerk reaction, I guess, because
correct
at that point it was peacekeeping and handing out food, and all of a sudden, all these dudes got waxed.
Yeah.
What do we do next?
And see, that's why we were sent over. The first George Bush, Daddy, he sent us over there because, of course, the UN and the Red Cross was over there handing out food. A lot of people don't realize Somalia had been in a civil war for like 13 years. Their country was trashed. So the UN and the Red Cross was over there giving out food. So the warlords started sending their little fellas in there, and they were stealing all the food. And then it started getting bad. They started shooting UN and shooting Red Cross people. And of course, United States, we're not going to stand for that. So that's how we actually wound up over there and got it beefed up a little bit, so to speak.
So I know a lot of you, and I also know a lot of 10th Mountain dudes that were over there with your unit, the 14th Infantry, who went through that tumultuous time. They kind of felt slighted when the book came out by Mark Bowden, and then, of course, the movie as well. So did some of the Air Force dudes, the TAC-P guys that were over there. I understand the angst that you weren't, I guess, spoken about in the book, but I also understand the version that he did was mostly based on his interviews with those dudes. He didn't get to talk. He didn't talk to you guys as much, or your unit as much. Mostly, right. I think your general or your colonel that was over there, he might have talked to him and maybe the S3 or something like that.
Right.
But not the dudes on the ground. And that's kind of why that was kind of that gray area. What are your feelings on that?
Well, for the producer and the director of the movie, you really can't hold it against them. They're trying to make a major motion picture, and they've got to slam 17 hours in just under 2. A lot of their information did come from the book. And it was, we got a lot of, we didn't get nowhere near the recognition that we probably should have. Now, a lot of folks don't know there is a documentary out. It's called Black Hawk Down: The Untold Story, and that is a full-fledged documentary about actually what took place from beginning to end. And 214, the 10th Mountain, they got their just dues. Now, I will tell you this: I have run into many Rangers that were either there or they were in that battalion, because that battalion only sent one company. So all those guys that were in the rear, so to speak, with that one company, they knew everything was going on. About a year and a half ago, we had a meeting up in Cincinnati, had a little show. And one of the Rangers that was there that night is now a high-ranking CO at a prison in Ohio. And he heard that we were coming down. So his prison actually makes the state license plates. So he had to make like 12 license plates from the state of Ohio that says MOG Vet, M-O-G Vet on it. And he come down and he handed each one of us a plate, shook our hand, and gave us a big hug.
Wow.
So when we run into Rangers that were there, or Rangers that came in right after that situation, we get nothing but respect. And we show them respect too. Here's 10th Mountain. I mean, let's think about it. 10th Mountain hadn't done anything since World War II. Who was 10th Mountain? You know what I mean?
All right.
You got a bunch of knuckleheads up there running around with a blue cord on their shoulder, but what do they really do? So they really didn't know what we were about. They didn't know how much we were actually trained. And when we got there, all doubts were erased. I mean, literally, it was erased. So, at one time, just up to a couple of years ago, the 10th Mountain was the most deployed division out of the U.S. Army. Yeah. And that's pretty much where it started.
I think at that time, I came in right when this happened, so that's when my active duty started. My first days on active duty was when Black Hawk Down occurred. So I learned what DRF was, Defense Readiness Force. I was at Fort Stewart. I was in 315th Infantry, and 464 was sent over. The 464 Armor was the task force that got sent over to help you guys out, along with some elements of my unit. And that's how I found out. I didn't even know what Somalia was.
Yeah.
That's how our blinders were on the United States. No one knew you guys were there. It wasn't the big story.
Correct.
And kind of like now, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that we do not know. The most people in the United States do not know what's going on with our military right now, or where they are, or what they're doing, or why they're doing it. There's some people that do, of course, but we know that you guys were the most deployed from, I think, I want to say 89 through probably 94. 88 through 94, I think 10th Mount was the most deployed division in the Army because they didn't know what to do with you guys since you were so far north. And they would just send you guys away. Let's get them out of here. Let's get them out of here. Let's do this. Let's do that. But you guys were in Sinai. You guys were in Somalia. You guys were in Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I think you guys were in Egypt, obviously.
Bosnia, Haiti.
Kosovo, all that stuff. Haiti as well. Yeah, 94 in Haiti. So you guys got sent a lot of places. But all the big names, yeah, everyone knew about Kosovo, Bosnia. They knew about Haiti. Somalia was just this weird place over there. Yeah. No one knew about it. And when you got there, you're like, what the hell is this place?
Yeah.
Why am I in just south of Djibouti?
Yeah. And, doing what I do now, I don't play politics. I have to walk that fine line.
Right.
What I think about politics is my business. But President Trump said it correctly. It was a shithole.
Yeah.
There's just no other way to put it. It was a shithole. It still is a shithole. But the educated civilians of that country, once the government fell, they left.
Yep.
They went to Kenya. They went to Egypt. They just got the hell out of Somalia. So think about it. The worst parts of the major cities in the U.S., if all of the educated and people with money, anybody with a little bit of common sense left, who are you going to have left? And we're no different than anybody else. Fortunately, we haven't gone through that yet. So, and you get the trash, and then you got the head trash leading the lower trash, and it creates a big old trash pile, literally.
Trash in, trash out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I heard this one time, Rich, and I want to mention it, that there's a term, it's called a Pyrrhic victory. You ever heard of that?
No.
It's a victory that inflicts such a devastating toll on the victor that it is tantamount to defeat. Yep. Such a victory negates any true sense of achievement or damages long-term progress. So you can't call, we don't feel it was a victory. Did we execute? Did we complete our mission that night? Absolutely. With the exception of Chief Durant that was taken hostage, we got everybody back. Yeah. And there was a lot of due diligence to get Chief Durant out that evening as well. So thank God we finally got him back. But
10 days later,
it was hell. And of course, we didn't have cell phones. We couldn't run in there and get on social media and send messages to our family. So I think the next morning after we all got back and all the accountability was done, weapons, all that stuff, I think we were allowed 30 seconds, 45 seconds on the Arcom phone. You pick it up, it rings, somebody in the United States answers, and you had to give them a phone number.
Yep.
So I called my mom, and it was probably, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning here. And I'm like, hey, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to see a lot of shit on the news, but I'm okay, and I love you, click. Now, as a parent, your ass ain't going back to sleep.
Yep.
Now you're flipping the channels. You're trying to figure out, find anything you can. But, like Mom said, first thing she remembers seeing is when they were dragging Staff Sergeant Cleveland's body through the street.
Yep.
So, it is. It's a shithole.
I remember I've read stories of Shugart and Gordon's wives.
Yes.
Watching the news and being told that they were given an optimistic view. They're probably all right. They're probably still out there doing this. They're probably out there doing this. but then they're sitting there watching their bodies getting dragged and mutilated. See, I think that looks just like him. That looks like Gary. That looks like him. And finally, to be told that I think it was one of them wasn't found until a week after everyone else. So I think they found 2 of them right away, and then one of them later. When she finally seen him, she said, "I know that was my husband getting dragged. I've seen him. I know my husband. I know his tattoos. That's him." And when they finally came out, yeah, that was my husband.
Yeah.
The shock and awe kind of it drains them. It drained like your mom probably drained that night when you even though you called and said I'm okay, that don't mean you're okay to her.
No.
That means you're in hell right there. You give that call.
So Master Sergeant Gordon, his sister, has became really, really close with a lot of us in 214. And when they have certain ceremonies, they named I think a bridge after him up there in his hometown. A lot of our 214 guys go up there and participate with that. So we all stay, it was it wasn't, oh, the Rangers suck or, oh, Delta sucks, oh, 10th Mountain sucks. We were all there to do a mission. Somebody somewhere screwed up, but we got to figure this out and figure it out quickly and get it over with. And that's basically, when you come down, as you know, the lower people are the ones that fix the problems.
Yep.
And that's what happened. I'm 53 years old. I've been out for quite a while now, and I'll tell you, the high brass screwed it up. The low brass fixed it.
The high brass makes a decision. The low brass sucks it up, and they worked the problem, and that's what happened that day. They worked the problem. They went out with the status quo that we're going to go out there, come right back in. We're going to hit, run, like we do every other mission.
Yeah, and that just didn't work out real well.
But that's when, as we flash forward to the global war on terrorism, it's something we call complacency at the time.
Yeah.
So once you get into that groove of doing the same thing every day, it's complacency, and that's how you lose dudes and dudettes when you stop thinking about everything you need to do to be successful in a mission. No matter, and you have to think about all the things that could happen, the what ifs.
Yep.
I know we hate to say what if, but what if Johnny falls out of the helicopter? What happens at that point? That wasn't something you can't plan on. Some dude falling off or missing the rope. You can't miss that. You can't plan for that. And when that happened to Blackburn, that kind of started that snowball. And then once that happened, then the shootout coming out with them, Sergeant Strucker's Humvee coming out, bringing them guys out, and them getting shot up, losing all them dudes, and just in that convoy coming out.
Right.
That was a bad convoy. And then everyone else getting trapped in when the first bird went down, Elvis's bird went down. And then, of course, Durant's later.
Yeah. So, see, 3 birds were shot that night. One actually made it back to the port. And, of course, the other 2 went down. So what started, I don't know what started it, but we got home around mid-December of 93. And then April of 95, I had a daughter pass away. And then I filed for divorce in June of 95. So in 16 months, I come home from combat, I buried a child, and I went through my first major divorce. Well, I became probably the biggest drunk asshole you've ever met, literally, and I admit it. I got a few years later, I got custody of my children, my daughter and my son, so I became a single dad. And I was probably the worst dad on the face of the earth. Nobody gave me a book. Nobody told me how to do it. And the alcohol helped nowhere. I tell everybody that alcohol is the world's best dissolvent if you allow it. It dissolves careers. It dissolves relationships. It dissolves everything if you don't control it. I didn't control it. I didn't control it at all. So we fast forward many years till we get to 2014. I'm working 60, 65 hours a week. Again, I've got children at home. As a single dad, I'm trying to work and make as much money because the kids are getting older now and they become a lot more expensive.
Hell yeah.
So I got sick somewhere around June of 14. And of course, I was still drinking like an idiot and I didn't have time to go to the doctor. So we go from June to October. The children wanted to go spend a weekend with their aunt and uncle and their cousins. I took them over there. I come home, got drunk again. I still to this day, and after many, many talks, I still can't focus on what done it. But I realized for the first time in many, many years, I was alone. Now I was drunk and alone. I didn't even have my kids. I was by myself. And my belt I caught it out of the corner of my eye laying across my bed. So I picked it up, strapped it around my neck, hung it from the bedroom door, shut the bedroom door, shoved my hands in my front pockets, and sat down. Now, this is the same belt I wear every day at work. It's a good belt. I dangle about 30 seconds, my big ass hits the floor. The belt breaks.
Yep.
So I'm not a religious person, but I have faith. So remember, I got sick in June. I'm still sick. So it was like one evening, somebody's like, "Oh, you want to die, huh?" So I finally go to the doctor, and I'm diagnosed with double pneumonia and acute myeloid leukemia.
Jesus.
So that cost me 3.5 months in the hospital straight right there. So they get me in remission, and I last 11 months and I relapse. When this type of leukemia comes back, it comes back mad. So it got me really, really good that time too. And when it was all said and over, I had a stem cell transplant, and I've been in remission since 16. So when it was all said and done, I of course, my family, my friends were a monster support. My brothers in the military were monster supports. But again, I was getting in that place where I felt alone. Now, I put liquor down. I did do that. I now own 173 bottles of liquor right there in my man cave. And to me, it's a mental thing. If I want to drink, I can reach over and get it. I'm a grown man. I can have a drink anytime I want to. But because I know it's there, I don't stress over it. So I can literally go months without even touching it. So that's the positive part. So back and forth between here and Georgia, Kentucky and Georgia. I started hog hunting down in Georgia, and some of my Army buddies were supposed to come down. COVID hit. That cost us a couple years.
Of course.
And then I moved back home, and I bought a 20-foot enclosed. I used to have a little 12-footer. I bought a 20-foot enclosed trailer, had it custom made. And JT Cooper called me one day, and he received a Purple Heart in Black Hawk Down. He was an Alpha Con. And it was his roommate that was killed, that stepped out of the APC. So he's like, "Well, you got that big trailer." He said, "You got room for me to come down and hog hunt?" I said, "Well, yeah, I always got room for you to hog hunt." I said, "But I kind of got this other idea." Prior to that phone call from him, he invited me down to Nashville to do warrior rounds. And he had asked me, I don't know, 2 or 3 times before, and I kept pushing him off. Well, this time, a couple of my buddies from my unit was going to be there, so he kind of pinned me in a corner. I had no choice. I had to be in Nashville. So we go down, we all get together, and then the next morning, they pair us up with an accomplished singer-songwriter. Well, I was paired up with a gentleman by the name of Bobby E. Boyd, and he co-wrote "Bless the Broken Road" that Rascal Flatts won a Grammy with. So I sit in the studio with him. We talk. I tell my story. He asked the right questions, and the whole time we're writing a song. And then that's what Warrior Rounds does. They put their people with accomplished singer-songwriters. They take their story and they turn it into a song. Several months later, we have a free live concert, and we're now at the Hard Rock Cafe in downtown Nashville. And we present their story and their song. So I told JT on that phone call, I was like, "No, I think I'm going to do something else with the trailer. Something has been telling me to use my mouth. I said, I'm going to take that trailer and I'm going to decorate it in warrior rounds." And he starts giggling. He said, "Yeah, what are you going to do then?" I said, "I'm bringing it down to Murfreesboro. I'm going to steal all your shit. I want all your T-shirts, all your hats, all your CDs." I said, "I'm going to travel around as much as I can to spread word about warrior rounds because you guys opened my eyes." And he's like, "You understand I can't pay you." And I said, "You understand I didn't ask you to pay me. If I had $200 extra for the month, I knew where I could get to and where I can get back on $200. So that's what I've done. And it's taken a little over a year, but it's really, really catching on as far as me getting out there running my mouth. And then we found out that by me talking to folks and telling my story, and the name of my show is, we all do it differently. Rich, my story is no worse than yours.
Right.
Your story is no worse than mine. The good Lord made us all do it differently. So, but what we found out is when I go out and talk and tell my story, when I go to sleep at night, that stigma of 22 a day to me drops to 21 a day. Because, knock on wood, we've been very, very blessed that at least one person has come forward at the end of one of my shows and said, thank you, that's what I needed. Now, here's the good part about that. What about the shows that may have had 500, 600, 700 people in? What if there was 5 people out there that went home, didn't say nothing to me, but I touched them? Yep. What if there was 10? What if there was 50? That's the best part. And I don't need to know all 50. All I need to know is one. Did I grab one tonight? I don't charge a single dime to come anywhere to talk to an organization, whatever. I ask them if they want to, they can take up a donation for Warrior Rounds. I tell them, look, I'm fat. You want to buy me a cheeseburger when I get there? Good. So
after bake.
It's been really, really good. And, I was up in Parkersburg, West Virginia last year, and we had a really, really good show. My buddy's the supervisor for the company that does one of the Vietnam traveling balls. And I was like, man, that would be awesome in my hometown. So I got my mayor on Facebook. I sent him a message. I was like, hey, we need to look at this. So we were to leave that following Monday or so, Sunday. And, of course, my buddy Wes, he had to come really close to my hometown to get back to Texas. And the mayor's like, why don't y'all just come in? Let's have a chit chat. So we did. We hauled ass back to Kentucky. We met with the mayor. And within 5 minutes of being in the mayor's office, he's like, yes, we're going to do this. Yes. So then he asked me to come speak to the city council that evening. My buddy had to get on to Texas. Spoke with the city council. Absolutely. I've been working on this for about 10 months now, and it will be here at the end of this month. So
there it is. I mean, that's outstanding, James. And we like to say here, reach one, teach one. Same thing on your show. And the same thing every time you do a talk, reach one, teach one.
That's
so
right.
If we can reach, like me and you talking tonight, if this live stream reaches one dude or dudette and makes him put that gun down or puts that belt down, or maybe doesn't get in that car and drive into a wall, hell, we succeeded today.
Yeah.
The proclaimed number is 22. It's actually about 44 a day that we lose. And it's not just our generation of veterans, it's
Sure.
Vietnam veterans as well. But it's a horrific number no matter which one you look at. 22, 44, anything in between is anything above 1 is bad for me.
Absolutely.
If we can save one of those, yes, we're doing great things. And I think my effort, your effort, Willis's effort on his show, the Triple Threat Vets podcast, they do it good. Tip of the spear. We try to get veterans things out there, but it takes us to help us. It's not going to take Joe and Josephine on the street to make us understand what we're doing. It takes us to look each other in the eye and say, hey, dude, you are not okay. I am not okay, but it's all going to be all right.
Yeah. And I can use 2 examples, Rich. One, Warrior Rounds. And I'll just use you as an example. I can set you in front of the VA's best psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists. 1, you're pissed. 2, you don't want to be there. You're going to say the least amount as possible so you can get the hell out of there. But I can take you and put you in a recording studio and shut the door, and you won't shut your mouth.
Exactly.
And we have proof of that. We've got it all on videos. Just like JT says, we got it all. It's right there. So when I was in Parkersburg, I met a couple, and the wife kept telling me she's been with her husband, I think, 25, 26 years. He's not going to talk. And I said, ma'am, he will talk. She said, no, you don't understand. Again, I've been with him this long. He won't talk. I said, listen, you're his number 1. He'll take a bullet for you. He'll do anything for you. But one thing he won't do is try to explain something to you that he knows you don't understand. Why would he bog you down with that? But for a fact, he will talk to me because I may not know him, but we wore the same boots. And the next day, he's standing in front of me with tears in his eyes. His wife is standing beside him with tears in her eyes, and her going, I have never heard this stuff before. And I looked at her and I smiled and I winked at her. I said, I told you he'll talk. because we've wore the same boots. We could take, all it takes is us, you know, as a veteran community, as ex-service members, it just takes us.
Yep.
Yes, there are cases, and I say this all the time, I am not medically educated. I can only talk. I can give hugs. I can give a high five. I could bum you or let you bum a cigarette. There are some folks that actually need that medical attention, and we need to make sure that they get it. But there's nothing wrong with walking up to a brother and sister. Are you okay? No, really. Are you okay? And just spend some time with them. Just talk. You know, it seems so easy, but there isn't nowhere near enough of the veteran community reaching out. You hear about this crap on TV all across the country. Well, this veteran organization is in trouble because they're sticking money in their pockets.
Yep.
That's absolutely ludicrous. If you're doing this for fame and fortune, you're already wrong.
Yep.
You're already wrong.
Yep.
You're already wrong. I don't care how you do it because it's not genuine. I apologized to somebody one time after one of my shows. I cried in the middle of it, and I apologized to them. And they said, don't apologize. Never apologize for showing your feelings when you're talking to these folks because they understand it's real. Please tell me the great big organizations that's doing this for fame and fortune, which one of those get on TV and cry? Which one of those get in front of an audience and cry? And I'm not saying in order to help somebody, you got to cry, but show a little bit of emotion. Show that you care somehow, because that's going to mean more to them than any amount of money in your building or whatever. You know, they don't care. What they care about is that you show them that you care.
Exactly.
And that's what I attempt to do every time I go out.
So me and Jake co-hosted a Tuesday crew there. We were in Fort Liberty, or Fort Bragg for you old types, North Carolina this last week, and we got to hang out with one of my former soldiers. He's down there now. He's with Special Forces, and he started a nonprofit called Warriors in Motion. You probably never heard of it.
No, I haven't.
It's not broadcast, but what he does is it's endurance racing. He'll get 12 veterans and put them in cars. They drive for an hour at a time, and they do 12-hour shifts. They do 12 hours of 24-hour racing, and they race all day and night, and they become the pit crew. They become a family, and they do this stuff, and they get together and do this stuff. It was amazing to hear him talk about it and see his eyes light up and tell us about the story and about the organization Warriors in Motion. And me and Jake just sat there soaking it in, and it was amazing to have it. And whenever you're with a group that's actually honest and forthright about stuff, it makes you feel good inside. And Warriors in Motion is one of those things.
Yeah, when I go out, I tell people all the time, when I get done with the show, Rich, I'm on zero. Mentally, physically, I'm on zero. It's get me back to my truck, my trailer, the hotel room, wherever I'm going for the night. Leave me alone. I'm done. I mean, I put it all out there. I was at a show one time, and it was 9 or 10 rows back, and a young man was just, he was in tears. He was shaking, and I'm talking. I had one of the little goofy ass headsets on, and I kept looking at people, and they're just looking at him. Nobody freaking moved. So I kept talking. I go down on stage, and I go back in the aisle, and I grab this boy, and I stand him up. And, man, he just latched onto me. And I keep talking, and I'm like, folks, sometimes this is all they need. And I wanted to lash out on all you folks sitting in here. You're looking at this boy, but nobody moved. Why?
Yeah.
He's just as important as anybody else.
Hell yeah.
It baffles me sometimes, a lot of people claim to be this big veteran supporter, or we're going to help our veterans. And they sit there and they watch this boy just break down, and they don't move.
Definitely.
You cannot be a veteran supporter if you can't give something as simple as a hug. You can't.
Exactly.
Because sometimes that's all that veteran needs. They just need to know that one person close to them actually gave a shit.
And I think something that came out in the mental health world in the last year or so, or the social worker world, telling people it's okay not to be okay. And I
It
mean,
is.
your guys, when you guys came home in 1993, I know when you came home, there was no freaking mental health professional to say, "Hey, bro, what can we do for you?" There was none. There was
Nope.
none whatsoever.
Nope.
And if you did ask for help, you were put on this blacklist. This dude's broken. This infantryman can't do an infantryman. Let's get rid of him. And
That's
that
right.
did not change probably until 2010 plus. At that point, when they started realizing that, hey, we're messing up these young men and young women. We have messed them up bad by
Yeah.
pushing, just keep pushing, kind of like the education system. Just keep pushing them through. No child left behind. No matter how dumb they are, they're still getting past. And the same thing with our mental health. We just push them, no matter how broke they are. We just push them through. And then
Absolutely.
then now the whole world thinks every veteran is broken. We're not all broken. It's okay not to be okay.
Sure
We
is.
just got to figure out how to do what we're doing now with a new set of brain matter and do things differently.
And two things, Rich. Since I've been on this little journey, I have realized that, in my opinion, every single adult in the United States has had to deal with some form of PTSD.
Yes.
And two, music therapy. Music, and it doesn't matter what genre, I don't give a damn. Music has helped every single adult at least one time in their life to get through a bad moment. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
You can't put an adult in front of me and say, no time in your life did music ever help you. Oh, you felt bad and your favorite song hit the radio, so you cranked it up. You felt a little better. Come on now. There's just something about it. So J.T. Cooper, of course, he had 14, 15 years in Nashville. He's got a couple albums out. He's the one that founded Warrior Rounds. He's got a song, and it's called Coming Home. And I use this all the time. In that song, he says, they took my weapons, but they left me fighting, and they called it coming home.
Yep.
Because we get, again, World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, Somalia, and really until after that global war on terrorism really kicked off hard, they wasn't focusing on what they call it, shell shock.
Yeah.
Now it's got its
that's
own
World War
term,
II.
PTSD. You know what I
Battle
mean?
fatigue. They had different names for it. Every conflict. They have a different name for it. So
Absolutely. But
I
they
think
did nothing.
it was shell shock. Korea probably still shell shock. Then
How many
Vietnam,
men and or women throughout our history up to present time got removed from something that they loved, and that was defending this country?
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many of those lost a career, what could have been a career, because of something they witnessed or something they were a part of that they could not physically, mentally process.
Exactly.
And the military, the government turned their backs on those folks. You know what I mean? They turned their back. When I bring the wall into Shepherdsville at the end of this month, we are doing a celebration of life / honor, respect, dignity face. And here's why I did that. When we come home from Somalia, it was just getting started. Maybe a high five in the airport or something. Iraq, Afghanistan folks come home, man, they blew the roof off in places. These kids were going home to small towns. They were small town heroes. They had parades for them. Woohoo! Please tell me what our Vietnam vets got. They got not a damn thing is what they got.
And that's the reason.
Like shit.
Their struggle is why our generation was able to come home to high fives, or
yes,
as the storm veterans having a ticker tape parade in New York when they came home, or wherever the parade was. They had parades. We came home from global war on terrorism. All 4 times I came home, there was some kind of band there. It was the division band. It was someone saying, "Hey, welcome home.
Yep.
You done great. You done great for your country." They didn't get that, but they're fighting from 1970 through 1999 to 2000, whatever. that fight that they put up, those men and those women that fought in Vietnam, they fought so that we can stand up now and be on this show, and
Yeah.
we can say, "Hey, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you for everything you did," and
Yeah.
we're gonna keep passing this torch forward, so no generation ever has to go through what you went through.
Absolutely. We got 3 young men from our county that was killed in Vietnam. I have personally talked to family members of all 3 men, and we're having a ceremony for those 3 men. And I've told those families it's not just about your brother; it's about you and your whole family.
Yep.
Because you guys have gone through the biggest 2-letter word in this world, and that's if. What if? What if he would have come home? What if he became president of the United States? What if he had 10 kids? What if he had 40 grandkids?
What if he followed his dreams?
You know what I mean? So I'm not celebrating just the life that that soldier gave us. I'm celebrating that family that's life has been thrown away because of that big word if. Yes, they could have been successful people as well. They went and had their families and a bigger family. But a part of that was always missing.
Yep.
Always. So not only do I want to honor those soldiers, I also want to honor those families. And I told them what I'm doing. We're having a celebration of life during the day. We've got folks coming a real long distance to us. So when we play taps at night, everything stops. Everything stops. Now we go into that honor, respect. You know, it's we've had a few naysayers in our area. Oh, I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't give a shit what you agree with.
Yep.
It's not your show. The main reason you're mad is because you're not in charge of this show. But the people that I think I have to make happy is, one, those 3 families and the governmental agency that's responsible for this show. If those folks are happy, you know what? To me, everybody else is a guest. Everybody else is a guest. And if all you're going to do is bring negativity over here, we've had enough of that shit. We don't want to hear it no more. Don't bring it, because you're really going to make an ass of yourself.
I think there's a song out there that says "Turn around," just turn around.
Absolutely.
That's it right there. Just have them turn around, walk away. If it doesn't apply to you, have a nice day. Have a nice day, and do what you got to do.
I've worked pretty hard on this event, and
I know a lot of the bluegrass state young men went to Vietnam. A lot of them did not come home.
Correct.
A lot of Tennessee's young men did not come home as well. We're right next door to each other. We're about 3 hours apart, basically. So when you do this, keep that in mind. There's a lot of dudes and dudettes that didn't make it home, and their families are still in those areas. They're still ingrained in those areas. They haven't left, because that's where they grew up. That's where their life is. And when they see that wall come through, because a lot of them have not got the chance to go to DC to see the main wall.
Absolutely.
Go and get that rubbing on that wall.
I tell a story all the time. I was at one wall event, and a little old man and a little woman come in about 10:15 at night. They picked him up in the golf cart, took him to the information booth, and took him up to the wall. They stood up next to the wall, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes or so. And then this area had some benches. So the little old man, little woman sat down on the bench. She reached in this bag. She wrapped him up in a big blanket. Now, remember, it's about 42, 43 degrees. And they sat out there almost 3 o'clock in the morning. And I asked one of the volunteers, are they okay? Yeah, they're fine. That's their son on the wall, and they have never seen it.
Yep.
Now, this was just last year. So someone that went to Vietnam, somewhere in their early to mid, maybe even late 70s, for his parents to still be alive and spend that much time at that wall in that temperature, if that doesn't open your eyes, nothing will. Because that is the reason we do it. There are so many people that just cannot get to Washington, D.C. to see this.
Yes.
This wall that we have coming in is an 80% replica. It is 360 feet long with every single name on it. And by the way, what's the youngest man's age on the wall? Do you know?
17, I think. Isn't it?
15.
15.
And there's 8 women on that wall. A lot of folks don't know that. It's very, very, it's a humbling, it's an eye-opening, it is a heart-wrenching scene. It really is.
It definitely 100% is. And like you said, that family going up there a year ago, mom and dad had to be in their 90s for their kid to have gone to Vietnam in 68 through 74, whatever.
Absolutely.
They drafted. So they're in their 90s, and they're finally being able to go up there and put their hand on that wall and say, hey, this is my boy. This is our boy at home. They might have had other kids. We don't know that. But they might. That's the kid that they never got to see again.
Absolutely.
When he went to basic training this last time they seen him.
Absolutely.
And the next thing they got was a yellow note from what's it called, Western Union, saying your son and daughter has passed away on behalf of a grateful country, blah blah blah. And that's the only thing they got. And then of course his casket coming.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a real quick bio of these 3 guys. One of them was 26 when he was killed in Vietnam. And if you were 26, you were considered one of the old men. You know what I mean?
Yeah, OG.
So his wife, him and his wife were about to rendezvous in Hawaii because that's where a lot of them met. His wife was at home packing her clothes when they knocked on her door.
Yeah, see?
Another gentleman that was killed, his wife swore she'd never love another man again. And she stayed true to that. She never married and she never had children. She passed away in 2016. And then another gentleman, his brother was being sent to Vietnam, and his brother's wife was pregnant. So he volunteered to go in his place. They dropped his brother off wearing Army jungle fatigues in Alaska when they got the word that his brother was taking his place. And he was in Vietnam roughly 8 months when he was killed.
Wow.
So there's so many heart-wrenching stories behind each and every individual that was in Vietnam. Yes. And the problem was our government and our civilians, none of them treated our returning Vietnam vets the way they should have been.
And if you look at today's atmosphere and see what the talking heads do now, the talking heads do the same thing now that they did back then. They split the country. Sure. If you watch the talking heads and you listen to them and you believe anything they say, you're going to either go this way or this way. And the same thing happened back then. So the talking heads were telling young kids and probably 18 to 30 something year olds, you hate these people because they went there. And then there's another group, of course, of saying, I love these people because they went there.
Right.
And that fight was there. So this fight that we're having today is the same fight we were having then. It just, we need bigger heads, bigger brains to come out and say, hey, the media is the problem.
Absolutely.
And let's stop brainwashing people. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get that kick and go over the top and say, hey, look, we all want the same thing. We all want a great country. We all want our kids to have a better life than we did. And we want our country to last into the next millennium. And that's what we need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with me as the media. Some folks would rather the news channel tell them the gospel, it's absolutely the truth,
yes,
rather than doing just a little bit of homework themselves. Try to educate yourself. Don't let the biased paid news medias teach you about what's going on. Do your research. Do it yourself. If you're that concerned about it, then spend 30 minutes and do your own research.
Exactly.
You might open your eyes a little bit to something you just were completely brainwashed about.
Yes. All right, James. So we're in our last minute or so of what we got here. How do people get involved with Warrior Rounds, and how do they maybe find out what's the best days to be there for the ceremony for Shepherdsville?
Okay. Ceremony for Shepherdsville. We will bring it in on the 20, help me out, Rich, next Wednesday, 24th. We're going to bring it in that night. It's going to start in Shepherdsville. We'll have Mount Washington. We'll have an escort start at 7 p.m. We should be at Shepherdsville by 9 p.m. We're immediately going to start putting the wall together. We should be done by midnight. the entire duration from then until the morning of the 30th. The wall is open 24 hours a day. There is no cost. None at all. No parking costs, no visitation, no entry. You just come, pay your respects, do what you want to do at that whole time. As far as Warrior Rounds is concerned, warriorrounds.com, you will find several videos that we have taped with, or that Warrior Rounds has taped with veterans and Gold Star families, the songs that they have written and then being played. There's also a donation. It is a 501c3, so it is a nonprofit. And then, of course, I can be found on Facebook at any time. How about that?
That's outstanding, brother. You hit the nail on the head in all of them. And this is a 53-year-old man talking about Facebook, talking about how to find you on the websites. So we may be older, but we're still relevant. Thanks God for that. Thank you, James. Thanks, James, for stepping in tonight to replace a guest that wasn't able to come, and you were able to give my audience, the Misfit Nation, a great bit of knowledge about the Battle of Mogadishu from the 214th view, which is outstanding because a lot of people don't know that view. And I'm gonna do something to probably make you cry a little bit, but I'm gonna say the names of the two dudes that you guys lost. You lost Sergeant Cornell Lamont Houston Sr., 1st Platoon, Charlie Company, 41st Engineer Battalion, a sapper. He died of wounds at Launchstool Regional Medical Center. He received the Flory Medal and the Purple Heart along with the Bronze Star of Valor. PFC James Henry Martin, 11 Bravo. He was a member of 2nd Squad, 2nd Platoon, Company Alpha, killed on the rescue convoy. And he was the one that James was telling us about, was shot in the head. So, James, I wanted to say their names out loud because that's what we do here at the Misfit Nation. We say names out loud so people know that they're real people, and to celebrate you and to make sure that you know that we care about you and your brothers in 214th. So thank you, James, for coming on tonight. It's been great chatting with you. I think the audience was very engaged with this one. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on.
No problem, brother. Have a good night.
You do the same. Thank you.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Got a question about your VA benefits, healthcare, or eligibility? Go to va.gov, where you can access a new interactive chatbot to ask questions 24/7. One can still browse va.gov for information, but you can now ask specific questions to the chatbot, like what's the PACT Act? How do I apply for disability benefits? What's my claim status? You can access the new feature through va.gov's Contact Us page. Then click on the Start Chat button. The chatbot will continue to improve veterans' access to information about the benefits and services they've earned.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.